Welcome to Marginal Thoughts, the channel where we dig into insights that, well, really matter. Have you ever looked around and just felt like everyone else got some secret memo about building financial stability? Like they know something you don't. Or maybe you're just starting out and the whole money thing feels like this giant, messy puzzle. If that rings a bell, yeah, you are definitely not alone. It can really seem like some people just glide forward, piling up assets, living with this kind of financial ease. But what if there was a clear path, like a step by step sequence you could actually follow to build real momentum no matter where you are right now? Today, we're going to break down that exact sequence. We'll explore the key financial milestones to aim for at different stages of life, and crucially, what actions you can take. Ready to figure out where you stand and what your very next move should be. Okay, let's get into it. A lot of people struggle with money, and it's often not about hard work, right? It's more about missing the foundational order, like building a house without the base. Our look into this shows there's a pretty specific progression, like levels in a game, for building real, lasting financial stability. And following that order is surprisingly powerful.
Absolutely. That focus on sequence is it's fundamental. It's not just hitting goals. It's hitting them in the right order at the right time. Think of it like laying bricks. You need a solid base before you put up the walls, right?
Makes sense.
If you build out of order, that financial structure might just feel shaky, or worse, it could crumble. So we're going to walk through 7 distinct levels, guiding you through each phase, explaining not just what to do, but really why it's so important for the next step.
Okay, I'm ready. Where does this journey begin? Especially for someone maybe just starting out, feeling a bit overwhelmed.
Right. Level 1. This usually kicks in around age 18 to 22. You're stepping into adulthood, maybe college, first job, money's probably tight, and crucially, it's the first time you're fully responsible for it.
Yeah, that can be scary.
Totally. So the core focus here is actually quite simple, but it's incredibly important. Learn to live below your means. Spend less than you earn, period. And the immediate goal, build a small emergency buffer. We're talking maybe $500 to $1,000 to start.
Doesn't sound like a ton, but I guess it makes a difference.
Oh, it's huge. Psychologically and practically, it means when your laptop dies or, payroll gets messed up, you're not instantly in panic mode.
Ah, okay. Avoids immediate debt.
Exactly. It stops you from having to rely on, say, a high-interest credit card right out of the gate. You should aim to save about 10% of everything you earn. Put it in a high-yield savings account. It's less about the total amount at first, more about just building that muscle, paying yourself first.
That little buffer sounds like it could really cut down on stress. What's the biggest mistake people make here, though, even if they want to save?
Good question. The biggest pitfall, honestly, is the urge to look successful as soon as you get a little money.
Keeping up appearances.
Yeah. New clothes, better phone, dinner's out. It feels good in the moment, but that's where people stumble. The key is delaying that instant gratification. Focus on the system underneath. If you can master living well below your means now, everything that comes later gets so much easier. Seriously, you'll be miles ahead of most people, not just financially, but mentally too. You build control.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. So, okay, you've built that habit, got the small buffer. What's the next crucial step as income, hopefully, starts to get a bit more regular?
Right, so you move past that initial scramble. That brings us to level 2, usually ages 22 to 28. Incomes may be more steady. Now the focus shifts. You're moving from just reacting to problems to actively building protection from them.
Okay, becoming more proactive.
Exactly, because this is when you really get introduced to things like credit cards, maybe short-term loans. They often look helpful, right? Convenient.
Yeah, they make it seem easy.
But without understanding them properly, they can quietly sink your progress. So your number one goal here is to aggressively pay down any bad debt.
Bad debt meaning?
High-interest stuff, credit cards charging you 18, 20, 25%, personal loans with nasty rates. That debt is actively working against you. You should aim to throw at least 20% of your income at that. And at the same time, you need to start contributing to a retirement fund, maybe 10% of your earnings each month. Get that compounding working for you early.
So attacking debt and starting to invest for the long term.
Yes, and crucially, this is important, you keep living lean like you did in level 1, even if your income goes up.
Avoid lifestyle creep.
Precisely. That extra money isn't for spending yet. It's for building a much bigger buffer. We're talking 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses.
3 to 6 months. Wow, that sounds substantial.
It is. But that buffer is what buys you real options. The power to leave a toxic job, handle a major medical bill, take some time off, without going back into debt. It lets you plan for fun stuff, instead of having emergencies dictate your finances. It's the difference between feeling trapped and feeling genuinely secure.
That extended buffer definitely sounds like freedom.
Okay,
So by your late 20s, maybe mid 30s, you've got the emergency fund, started retirement savings. What big moves are on the horizon then?
so you're entering level 3. Let's say roughly aged 28 to 35. Your income feels more predictable. Random bills aren't causing panic attacks anymore.
Breathing room.
Exactly. Now the conversation shifts towards significant assets, specifically buying your first property. This is a major step into long-term ownership. You start building equity instead of just paying rent. You should also be investing a bit more consistently now, maybe 15% of your income, into broader market stuff like index funds or ETFs. Grow that long-term wealth. And in parallel, another 20% to 30% should be going into a separate high-yield savings account earmarked specifically for a down payment.
So serious saving for that property goal.
Yeah, and preparation is key. You ideally want to start this whole process like 2 to 3 years before you actually plan to buy. It's not just saving the cash, it's cleaning up your whole financial picture, paying down any lingering high-interest debt, building a strong credit score, keeping your credit card balances low, showing stable income.
Getting your ducks in a row for the mortgage lenders?
Right. But also for yourself. Understand what you can comfortably afford, not just the maximum the bank says you can borrow. That's critical. Your first place doesn't need to be the dream home forever. Think of it as a stepping stone, an asset that can grow in value, give you equity. The goal is to buy from a position of strength, not stress. Make it a positive step, not a burden.
That makes sense. Avoid getting house poor. Now, a lot of people might feel like they've made it once they own a home, but you're saying there's more. What happens in level 4, late 30s, early 40s, acquiring more property, investing more? Sounds intense.
It can be, but it's about smart growth, not just accumulating stuff. So level 4, maybe ages 38 to 44, you might feel stable, but life often throws curveballs here. Kids, maybe, career shifts, health stuff. The focus is strategic expansion and really locking in aggressive investing as just what you do. If you manage that first property, okay, you learn discipline, now you apply it smarter.
Smarter how?
Well, maybe you consider a second property, perhaps a rental unit to generate some extra income. But this isn't a whim. It's a calculated business decision. You're running the numbers hard. Location, potential repairs, vacancy rates. Is it actually going to make money? Maybe you even take on some temporary freelance work or consulting gigs to boost the funds for that down payment.
Okay, so it's very intentional.
Absolutely. And investing. It's become automatic and non-negotiable. You're putting away 15% to 20% of your income every month, maxing out retirement accounts if possible. Transfers are automated. You check your portfolio, sure, but you're not panicking with market dips. You've probably been through some ups and downs by now. Learn to stay the course. Your decisions are based on understanding, not just hope. And your lifestyle. It reflects your priorities, maybe spending more on experiences or things that buy you time rather than just constant upgrades.
Okay, that sounds like a really solid position. Then we move into level 5, say mid-40s to mid-50s. You said the focus shifts from just growth to actual wealth building. What does that look like practically?
Yeah, level 5, ages 44 to 55 roughly.
Yeah.
This is where that earlier question comes in. What happens when basic security is pretty much handled? Now, it's about building wealth that can potentially last beyond you, creating real financial independence, maybe even setting things up for the next generation. A big goal here might be working towards paying off your main home's mortgage significantly, maybe entirely, in the next 5 or 10 years.
Getting rid of the mortgage payment entirely, that sounds amazing.
It's a huge psychological win. Think about that cash flow freed up every month. And you're still investing consistently, 15 to 20% of income into diversified assets funds, maybe some dividend stocks, perhaps more real estate if that's your thing. Your money is seriously working for you now. This stage is fundamentally about buying options. Real freedom. The choices you make are designed to give you the power to say, walk away from a job you dislike, move somewhere new, fund a big goal, help family, without financial panic. Even if actual retirement feels like it's still a decade off, your lifestyle and your mindset should already be shifting towards that feeling of freedom. You might be building multiple income streams, tackling any last big debts. This isn't the time to suddenly get super conservative. It's time to use your accumulated resources wisely, taking smart, calculated risks to maximize that future freedom.
That sounds like a really empowering stage. Okay, then level 6, the decade from 50 to 60. You mentioned this is critically important. Why is that, and what are the main objectives here?
Yeah, level 6, ages 50 to 60. It's critical because while you have wealth, your timeline for making major changes or recovering from big mistakes starts to shrink a bit. All those accounts you've been feeding for decades, they're hopefully quite substantial now, and you're managing them strategically for the final push towards and into retirement. Every decision carries more weight. You also often start to realize, a lot of expenses I thought were normal are maybe unnecessary, just noise.
Cutting out the fluff.
Kinda. Simplicity starts to feel really powerful. It cuts down on stress, on worry. The focus shifts from just building towards freedom to actively living with freedom in mind every single day. It's less about sacrifice now and more about deliberately shaping your desired future. Think of it as the last major checkpoint before the finish line of traditional retirement. The goal is total financial liberation. The option to stop working without freaking out. The ability to say yes or no to things based on desire, not your bank balance. Funding a child's wedding, taking that dream trip, maybe starting a passion project. For people who followed the steps, this decade often feels really exciting, like everything's coming together. If someone started late, yeah, the pressure can feel intense, but taking focused action now still gives you significant control over how things turn out. It's never too late to improve the outcome.
And that brings us to the final stage, level 7, age 60 plus. If things went well, you're reaping the rewards. Needs met, investments working. So what's the focus when personal security is handled?
Right, level 7. You've built a machine and it's running well. A truly profound question often comes up now. What happens after I'm gone? What impact do I leave? The focus shifts from just accumulating for yourself to ensuring a lasting positive legacy. This means getting serious about estate planning.
Wills, trusts, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Comprehensive planning. Setting up trusts if needed, making sure your will is clear and up to date, ensuring your assets actually become a benefit and not a complicated burden for your family or beneficiaries. It's structuring things according to your values. And maybe even more importantly, this is the prime time to pass on the knowledge. Teach your kids, your grandkids, how this whole system works, how to earn, protect, and grow wealth responsibly.
Leaving financial literacy, not just money.
Precisely. You're leaving a roadmap. Impact becomes more important than just having more. Maybe funding scholarships, mentoring younger people, supporting causes you care deeply about, perhaps setting up a small family foundation. The biggest danger here, ironically, is thinking the work is totally done. Complacency. Without clear planning and maybe some ongoing oversight, decades of hard work could unravel surprisingly quickly. It's about ensuring that wisdom keeps benefiting others.
That's a really powerful perspective on the later stages. But you mentioned something earlier that feels really important to circle back to this idea of a trap, the trap of stopping too early.
Ah, yes. This is so common, and it can really undermine everything. We see people who do great. They get momentum. They hit a big milestone or two. Maybe they finally pay off all their student loans or high-interest debt, or they buy their first house or reach a certain income level they were aiming for.
And they feel like, okay, done. I can relax now.
Exactly. They feel like they've made it, so they ease off the gas. They shift from actively, intentionally building to just sort of maintaining, coasting. But the system isn't finished yet. You haven't achieved that full, robust financial freedom we talked about in the later levels. And stopping prematurely is risky.
How so? What are the risks?
Well, first, there's inflation. It's always silently eating away at your buying power. What felt like a comfortable buffer might not be so comfortable in 5 or 10 years if it's not growing. Second, you miss out on future opportunities. New investments, maybe ways to accelerate your progress that you just don't see because you're not actively looking anymore. And maybe the most critical part, that confidence you built, it can actually start to fade. The buffer shrinks relative to your needs. The income feels stretched again. Momentum is like a flywheel. It's powerful when it's spinning, but hard to get going again if you let it stop completely.
So the key takeaway is,
don't slow down just because you scored your first big win. Absolutely celebrate it. But then use that success, that energy, as fuel for the next step. Keep investing consistently. Keep learning. Keep looking for ways to grow your income. And always protect what you've already built. This financial journey, it's really continuous. That consistent discipline, that's what truly pays off in the long run.
wow, that's a lot to think about, broken down into manageable stages. So, listening to all this, thinking about these levels, where do you feel you are right now on this path? And maybe more importantly, what's the very next crucial goal you're going to focus on? What action can you take, maybe even this week? We would genuinely love to hear your thoughts on this. Share your biggest takeaway, or maybe that next step you're planning, down in the comments. And hey, if mapping this out was helpful for you, please consider subscribing to Marginal Thoughts. We're here to bring you valuable insights like this, helping you gain knowledge quickly and confidently. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.